Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gayle Carson. Welcome to Living Regret Free, a program that shows you how to live a better and more joyful life. As an added bonus, I invite you to listen to an introduction to my Mindset Matters program, which ties into this so well. Go to www.sobmindset.com. It's free, and I know you will enjoy it. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at gaylecarson13@gmail.com or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Hi, everyone. I have a terrific guest for you today, and she has been called a secret weapon for life and business success, a voice for healing, empowerment, and love with a capital L, and a marvelous magician who helps us transform into our most glorious and loving selves. And her name is Lea Bayles. She's a transformational speaker, author, and coach, host of the We Are More radio show, and founder of the Miracle Makers Pathway. Recovering from a serious immune system crash in her early 30s woke her up to the extraordinary healing power within each of us. Well, welcome to Living Regret Free, Lea. How are you this morning?
Oh, thank you. I'm fabulous, and I am so delighted to be here.
Well, thank you so much, and we love having you. And of course, I'm going to start off with a bang and ask you what living a regret-free life means to you.
Well, I have to say, ever since you asked me to be on this show, I've been thinking about regret-free living. I love that you've got this title for this and this focus. And when I think of regret, when I feel it in my body, I feel a heaviness, a weight that's holding me down and pulling me back. So regret-free living is being able to live without that weight and have the access to our full energy and vitality and forward moving intention. And I looked up, I love words, and I looked up regret and found out that it came from a late Middle English word which meant bewail the dead. And, I thought it's important to grieve when someone has died, when something's happened, but to bewail and to do it over and over, is something that can hold us in the past. So it was kind of interesting to me to think of what that word meant in its root.
I was just going to say, bewail the dead. That's very dramatic. I mean, that is something to think about. So, what would you say? What kind of practical suggestions do you have if someone says to you, Lea, I really want to live regret free. I want to live in a happy and a no regret life. What do you say to them?
Well, I think the number one thing is to embrace the challenges we have and the difficulties, whether they're in our past or now, as opportunities to grow and to become who we really are. And I don't mean that in a glib way, and certainly not when someone's in the middle of a big, like crisis. I wouldn't say, oh, embrace it as something wonderful. But there always is within those the opportunity to find what we can grow with, find what we can learn with at our toughest times. And I know you and I both have experienced a lot of loss. We've experienced things that have fallen apart, people we know who've, are not with us anymore, and people we've loved who are not with us anymore. And even in those most difficult times, there's a part that emerges that can make us stronger and that can let the parts of us that are growing, let us become more who we really are. And I believe that's what this life path is largely about, is growing in love, becoming who we are, so we can, first of all, just really embrace it as that opportunity. And then I think it's really important whenever it's in the past or it's now, we're regretting something, is to not gloss over it, but let ourselves feel the emotion of it, whether it's grief, whether it's, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. Feel the emotion in our body, breathe with it. And when we do that, it will begin to transform. It's when we push those emotions down and we gloss over them, we pretend we don't have them, or we get stuck in them, rehearsing them again and again, that they don't move through. But when we let them, those feelings, those emotions become energy that propel us forward.
Well, I agree with you. I think that we all have to learn from our mistakes. We all have to learn from the painful things that happen to us. And even though we don't quite understand it at the time, it's something that's very, very important. But you say something about the perils of positive thinking. And I'm a very positive thinking person, and I talk about positive mindset, and I talk about how important it is. So I'm really curious when you say perils of positive thinking. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Well, and I agree with you. And it's funny because sometimes I've said to people, I don't believe in positive thinking. And they're like, what in the world do you mean? You're the most positive person I've ever met. I believe in positivity. It's really important. But when we only have it in our thinking mind, it's not enough. So I believe in a positivity that's embodied, that we're like, let's say we're imagining what we want to create in our life. Say someone's in a difficult financial situation. And first of all, again, we have to embrace what really is. And if we just begin saying the words, I will be wealthy, I am wealthy, then it can cover up our actual situation, and it can become a positive thinking band-aid that we plaster over what we're really feeling in our situation. So again, to be able to use it like, if we're in that situation, or someone perhaps who's wanting a new health, to become healthier and heal from an illness, rather than deny what's there, is to turn toward it, to feel all the feelings, to notice those, to breathe with them, and then begin imagining in a full-bodied way. So it's positive thinking, positive feeling, positive empowered heart and body. We begin really embodying, what does that mean? What is it that I want to have, and feeling it with our whole self, so that we're not just using mind over matter like people used to talk about. We're not just using thinking, we're using a whole body mind approach to creating what we want.
Yeah, in fact, there was a discussion this weekend at an event that I was participating in, and they were talking about the fact that you cannot just say affirmations. You just cannot say, I am well, I am healthy, I am living a good life, if you aren't doing those things in reality. Just by saying an affirmation is not going to make it come true. So I think in that respect, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I think it's important that you that you're practicing all of this in real life. So what do you suggest that we do instead of just spouting off these affirmations? How do you think we should frame all of this so that it really does have a positive effect on us?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think it's really important. And working with people, in my classes and my coaching, there are a lot of processes we have that actually don't take very long. But first of all, not to deny the messiness of our situation, not to deny the reality of how we're feeling. Again, it's like coming back into the body. What are the emotions? If someone's feeling fearful about, say, speaking in front of a group of people, they can't just jump over that. But if we feel the fear in our bodies and we breathe with it, it actually becomes an energy that often then is excitement, that often, can actually help us move forward. So rather than standing up in front of a group of people and denying the feelings, letting them move through, working with them, and before we go on stage, imagining how we want to be and feeling the body stance of that. Some of this state is rather, like you said, we can't just say, I am wealthy, I am courageous. Feel it in your body.
So act as if.
Act as if, and stand as if, and breathe as if, so that we really embody the change we want to become. And we feel and we practice that. And we, in our meditation or in our movement meditation, we let ourselves gather that energy, which is so very powerful, as if it's happening. And then that propels us forward.
Well, you have a program called the Miracle Makers Pathway. First of all, I think we need to discuss what really is a miracle, and can anyone be a miracle maker? So kind of take us down that pathway, because when you talk about Miracle Maker's Pathway, I think everybody would love to create miracles, but what do you consider a miracle?
Well, I consider, again, go back to the word miracle. It comes from an old French word, which means smile. And it's the idea of that big smile when something is so wonderful, you just feel transformed by it. So I think of miracles as being that which is out of the ordinary. And it can be anything from, some of us who've had near-death experiences. I fell into a river once when I was a teenager and suddenly left my body and was seeing myself and the forest and the river from way above. And I had this just feeling of peace and wholeness and just overall benevolence and rhythm of nature. And then I bounced back into my body and as I got back up onto the shore. And that to me is one of those kind of extreme places where we jump out of the ordinary and we're seeing from a different reality. And I think everyone has those. Sometimes they're that kind of near-death experience. Sometimes it's just we look at a sunset and our heart opens so fully that we are awakened to the wonder and the miracle of that moment. So to me, a miracle is that which is out of our ordinary thinking or being. And sometimes we think of miracles as just something that happens to us from an outside force. But I believe we can live in such a way and up-level our way of being and creating success that we make miracles happen much more often, that we're open to them. We're open to seeing them all around us at any moment. And we allow the miracles that are trying to happen to us more frequently.
You know, it's interesting that you equate a miracle with feeling peaceful. And also talking about the sunset. I was somewhere the other day and a person that I was with said, "Oh, look at that beautiful sunset. It is absolutely magnificent." And truthfully, I had not even seen it because those are things that don't necessarily register on my radar. And he was so involved in this sunset. It was amazing to me. And then, of course, once he started talking about it and he stopped and he gazed at it, I thought to myself, it is beautiful, and it is peaceful. But it took someone else's knowledge of it and recognition of it for me to even pay attention to it. So I often think to myself that I'm kind of just walking by some of these things. So do you think that anyone can be a miracle maker?
I absolutely do. And I believe each one of us is a miracle. I mean, just the fact that each of us is unique, never in all of human history so far, and never will there be another one just like you, just like each of us. And each of us has unique and precious gifts to offer to the world. And so the more we can wake up to that, the more we can bring our miracles to the world. And I believe we're all being called to make miracles now. And by that, I mean things outside of our normal way of doing things, not just the ordinary. But I think we're all called into bigger perception, bigger abilities by the challenges in our own lives, the things that are tough, the dreams that seem a little too big for us to accomplish. And I think we're also called into our miracle-making powers by the challenges in the world right now. There are some really big challenges, and we can get swallowed up by those, or we can say, how can I rise into even bigger capacities as an individual and as communities and as a whole planetary species? How can we open into those bigger capacities to be able to meet these big challenges?
So what are some of the things that would get in the way of making a miracle? I mean, we know that there are certain of our leaders like Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa or even Maya Angelou who seem to create these feelings of miracles around us. Mm-hmm. And then there's the ordinary person and you say, well, can I be that person? So what gets in the way of making a miracle?
Well, I think sometimes feeling like there is a distinction between us and an amazing person. We each have the ability in our own sphere to make a difference, to make a positive difference. And I think another thing is that we in our culture are so primed to be rational thinkers and to think about what we can see and to think about what has been proven to be real. And we sometimes call it consensual reality, this reality that we agree on. When actually most people, most cultures in the world, most spiritual traditions in the world have had ways, practices, systems for people to be able to expand into bigger seeing, a bigger mind, a bigger heart. And I think Gandhi, he was a very actually socially anxious person when he was a child, and he was very nervous about things. And to be called into the amazing position that he was, it was from believing that a change needed to happen and taking step by step the actions he could take. So he didn't, when he was a socially anxious child, think, I'm going to be leading millions of people and inspiring leaders for, maybe the rest of human history. He overcame his own challenges, and he followed his passion for what he thought needed to be changed in the world, and he did it step by step. And
so it's really
each one of us can do
true
that.
to yourself. It's really staying true to yourself and following the path that you really believe you are on.
And believing that we're capable of more than we now know how to do. I believe each one of us is amazing just as we are. And I believe within each of us right now, there is more emerging, so that there is more capacity, there is more love, there is more ability to serve in the world. There is more ability to create in each of us that is longing to emerge. You are enough just as you are, and there is always more ready to emerge.
Well, so you really need to start thinking about this when you first get up in the morning, and you have something called the Miracle Maker's Quick Shift Formula, which is also a gift that you're giving us, but it's called Chi Power, a Chi Power Quick Shift Formula. So tell us what that is and how we utilize it. What is involved with it?
Well, when I was recovering from my immune system illness in my early 30s, I had this extraordinary journey of studying with many masters from yoga and qigong and mind-body healing of different forms. And what I began to realize was I had gotten sick because I was trying to push myself towards success in the way I thought I needed to do, which is push harder. You get sick, you push more. You're tired, you push more. You keep going. You're striving. You're struggling toward it. And I realized that I began meeting people who were decades older than I, who were accomplishing remarkable things with ease and with a sense of flow and tapping into what I'm calling chi power, that life force, that energy. And that's available for all of us all the time. So this quick shift formula is a way to shift from, and I think we all get into this, like we've got a deadline, we've got something we've got to do, and like, oh, well, I'm just going to push harder. And we get tense, our eyes get tense, our muscles get tense. We're like, we're not as pleasant to be around. We're like in that mode of pushing and powering through. And that only takes us so far, and it's depleting and it's aging and it's hard on our body and our mind and the people around us. So this quick shift formula that I have that is I'd love for you all to get. Just go to leabayles.com, and it helps you within 45 seconds go through a 5-step process in your body, in your mind, in your way of being, in yourself that lets you shift right out of that pushing, powering through mode into this chi power. So you're working, you're flowing, you're accessing and mobilizing that flow state where you can more easily get more done. And what people tell me is, I thought I had to push to get things done. And I realize working with my chi power, I can get way more done in a lot less time. And it's lots more fun.
Wow. it is true, and I do believe that you can make yourself ill from how you think, how you act, what you do, how you live your life. There's no question in my mind that happens. But it's also just amazing to me that you can create an immune disease from pushing too hard, because most people, I think, at least solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, people who are in their own business, they're pushing all the time because they want to get better and better and better and better. And that's, that's hard to overcome. But the fact that it resulted for you in an immune system issue, to me is just, it just seems unfathomable that something like that would happen. But you also do this radio show, We Are More. What is that about?
Well, again, it's this fascination I have and this desire I have for all of us to be able to easily expand into more of who we really are. So it's actually on hiatus right now, but it's coming out again this fall, 2019. And I just talk with people who are visionaries and change makers and everyday people who in various ways expand out of the ordinary. So I like to hear what their experience is with that, how they've done that. I love to hear them tell what I call their wonder stories, things that have happened outside of the ordinary. And also, I love to have people tell us how challenging situations helped them become more of who they really are.
That's wonderful, because I think there are so many ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And I just think that if more people knew about them and realized what these people who are like your everyday neighbor or working cohort or somebody you meet in your daily life or someone you exercise with or whatever, if you knew what they've done or how they've accomplished what they have, it would just be so inspiring. So I commend you for that. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful idea. So let's talk about, again, where people go to get this gift of yours. Lea is offering this wonderful Miracle Makers Chi Power Quick Shift formula. And like she says, it doesn't take long. It takes, 45 seconds, a minute or two. And you say goodbye to you pushing and powering through, and you get more done and achieve your highest dreams with pleasure and ease. And if you go to her website, Lea, that's Lea Bayles, BAYLES.com, that's where you're going to find it. So I think that's fantastic. And you've put all of this to work in your own mind. I mean, you've got expertise in psychology, mind, body, healing, energy medicine, yoga, qigong, joyful living, all of that. I think it's wonderful. But I love the fact that you've named your home Dreaming Forest Farm. So, is it a real farm, or is it strictly a house that you've named?
Well, it's 10 acres.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, I have a large garden with vegetables and herbs and flowers, and I have about half of the land is forest. We have a stream and a couple of ponds. Yeah, so, and I do some retreats here, and people come here sometimes just for private work with me. And yeah, and it actually came to me in a dream that several years ago, and Dreaming Forest Farm. I know I feel the energy of the trees and the beings who are here now, but also have been here in the past when it was ancient forest land and indigenous people. It's like the dream of what is now, what is to be, but also what has been here.
Fantastic. I love that. So if you are interested in going to a retreat at Lea's home, her forest farm, her Dreaming Forest Farm, or learning about her quick shift formula or any of the other services that she offers, this is your chance to find out about it. Go to her website, Lea, Lea Bayles, BAYLES.com. And of course, you can find her on Facebook and LinkedIn and all those normal places. But if you go to her website, I think it'll give you a good idea of a little more about her. We have about 30 seconds left, Lea. Is there anything we have not covered that you would like to leave with our audience?
Well, when I think about regret-free living, one of the things I think of is how precious life is. And how, if we're going to allow ourselves not to be regretful, we need to be remembering what is it that's calling me right now that I haven't yet said yes to. It doesn't mean all the people with all the things they want to do, but from that soul place, is there anything that you've been wanting to try, you've been wanting to do, that you've been holding yourself back from? And just give yourself some room with that and ask, what would be my next step or my first step toward that dream?
Well said. Well said. And with that, we'll say goodbye. And Lea, thank you so much for being with us today. It has been a joy. Thank you so much. And hopefully our listeners will gain a lot from your free gift, because that is a wonderful thing that you're doing. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Gayle, and all listeners. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I choose my guests carefully, so if you have someone you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. In the meantime, check out my intro program, Mindset Matters, at www.sobmindset.com. See you next week.